Hey, welcome to the Sightless Dungeon. I'm your host, Brandon, that blind guy, and this is our very first podcast with the Sightless Dungeon. This is where the exploration is endless, and the stories and opportunities are treasures. Today is going to be a very interesting day. Today is April 4th, 2025, the debut of the Sightless Dungeon. And shout out to my mother. Today is her birthday. Let's go.
Yes.
So, you might be asking, who am I here with? Am I here with a ghost or am I talking to myself? I don't know. So, in the Sightless Dungeon, you never know what can come left or right. So, who are you, mysteries ghosts? We're going to find out because it's Eunice. I had known. Yes, go ahead, Eunice. Go ahead and cheer for yourself.
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Eunice, and I am excited to be here with Brandon.
Who is it? You know, hear people just say, who's Brandon that, this and that. Well, I don't know. So, like you said, I'm always here in the Sightless Dungeon. That's why no one can find me.
Exactly. But I'm excited to be here, though, Brandon. Thank you for inviting me.
You're not welcome at all.
Of course.
So,
I see how this is going to be today. I see how we're going to act right today.
No, we're not. So, this is going to be a weird podcast, but let's get to it. So, most of my guests or volunteers who decide to come explore in the Sightless Dungeon, they may be people who are blind, visually impaired, or organizations that work with people who are blind or with an accessibility, making things work, or developing products that may work for the blind. Mm-hmm. So I'm giving you guys a future heads up. There might be a big individual or group of people who may be joining this podcast probably sometime in April. So just watch out for that. That'll probably be episode 2 or episode whatever. So, Eunice is very interesting. So, basically, I'm her technology trainer. Not only am I her interviewer today, it's going to be a little strange because I know things about Eunice that you may not know about, and there's going to be some funny moments and stories in the dungeon. But Eunice is also blind. She is considered visually impaired, but she's very different from a lot of us and different from me, depending on what she can see and how she lost her vision. My story about my vision loss will be coming in the future, probably May 27th. We'll see. Wink, wink. But, so Eunice, your vision is a little strange, but most people actually go through what your vision loss is. Can you tell us what is your vision loss? So, like, what is it? What is it known for? What is it called?
My vision loss came from diabetes. They call it diabetic retinopathy.
Yeah. So diabetic retinopathy. Even though I can't pronounce the word because of my treatment, when my brain is all messed up, Eunice knows that for a fact.
Nothing wrong with your brain. That's you, Brandon.
It's not me. I don't know. So, there are a lot of people who actually lose their vision from diabetes. I believe that it's one of the largest causes of blindness and visual impairment here in the United States. All that sugary treats and things and such. But, can you tell people a little more about your vision loss?
Yes. So, basically, diabetic retinopathy is, to put it as simple as I could possibly put it, is just blood vessels forming around your retinal due to, of course, uncontrolled glucose, which is your numbers. The uncontrolled glucose forms the blood vessels around the retinal, and if not controlled, it can cause it to detach. And of course, when your retinal is detached, that's what causes the blindness. So unfortunately, that's what happened in my case. It started in my left eye, and then eventually also happened in my right eye. And this started in 2020, right when the pandemic started.
Yeah, so the pandemic was really bad, even for us blind and visually impaired individuals. So it's
Mhm.
funny, like even though you can't see, so like when you have to go to the store during that time, it would be like you need to stand 6 feet between each other, right?
Mhm.
So sometimes even for like doctor offices or pharmacies or whatever store you may go in, sometimes they may have that little X for you to stand at.
Mhm. I remember that. Yep. Yep.
Just imagine being blind and visually impaired. Hey,
Right.
you stand right there on the X. Well, I don't see the X,
I don't see it.
It just be funny. So,
I didn't, but it's crazy because during that time, I was still able to see, so I did not experience that, not being able to see and seeing how far to stand off from others and things. I hadn't even had my surgery yet, so yeah, I can only imagine how frustrating or because it's like most people that I noticed before I became completely without vision, you can't really tell unless they got on some shades or they can't see. So to someone that does not know what to look for, they can think that you're just being defiant or whatever, and you have to actually ask them, "Are you talking to me?" So
yeah,
I can only imagine. Hmm.
it just be funny. It's kind of rude sometimes. You know how some people who are sighted. I'm not going to go over this extensively here in this podcast, but you know how those blind or visually people, the people who can still see us walking around with our canes and things. You probably been through it. I've probably been through it, but most of the people who might be listening to this may have been through what some of us have been through, where you're not blind, you don't need that, but it's just weird. So I'm so this podcast is really get to have people know that there are a lot of blind individuals and let you guys know our struggles in life sometimes because it's really not that easy for some of us. Some of us may have lost our vision in a bad term, and some of us, wasn't expecting to lose our vision. You could never know what happens in life. So, it's just like the man in the sky has a plan for us, and sometimes you might be asking, why me? Well, let's find out. So, what I always said to everyone so far is that no matter what's in front of you, just go for the opportunity. You'll find it, and you'll be on the right path, and one day you'll see better because a lot of us, when we lose our vision, depending if you were born blind or you progressively losing your vision, like how me and Eunice have, you go through a lot of emotions and feelings, and a lot of us will go through this phase, but it's the way that we handle it. Either you find some help, or you have some sort of support group, or there's someone out there you can talk to, about your feelings and pain, and it might be better, it may not. So Eunice is a little more different than my vision loss. I actually lost my vision from optic nerve damage, but more than that later on, probably next month around the 27th. Wink, wink. So, yeah. So, Eunice is very interesting again. She's been in two states where she has been able to, see and then become completely blind. I know that services around the United States are very different. Here in Georgia, they're kind of more interesting. I know in like Colorado, they're pretty unique. But you were in Alabama before you came to Georgia, but you were always been a Georgia girl. But
That's right.
what was it like in Alabama, regarding like you losing your vision and, what basically losing your vision and the services there. So let's start off with, when you were in Alabama, when you were starting to lose your vision, how was it like? How were you feeling?
Uh, it was it was scary. Um, you know, um, you can't prepare for that. Unless, like you said, if you was born blind. If you was born blind, you've never seen trees, flowers, the sky, your family members, So it was scary, but I was given the impression that what I had was something that was reversible. And so it didn't really, hit me then, because I'm thinking, okay, it's a process. They're just going to remove the remove the blood vessels, and I get a couple of shots and everything will be good, So I did not focus too much of me actually being completely in the dark, like I am now. So it was a bit scary. I thought, things, like I said, I was still able to see out of my right eye. So I was still able to, function for the most part. It was just an adjustment. So it wasn't that bad. I did receive services in Alabama that helped me to kind of navigate. So I guess I can say I was like in denial, because people were coming by from the Alabama services to teach me how to navigate, like, around the household and things like that. And giving me different devices to use, like different lighting and things. But I guess I was still in denial, because in my mindset, I'm like, I'm not going to go in complete darkness. So I'm wasting y'all time and y'all money. But, nevertheless, I did continue to receive the items and things, and just didn't put any too much, emotion in it, because in my mind, it's like, this is only temporary.
Yes. So again, it's just how people pursue how they feel when they lose their vision. I know that when I was losing it, I was just feeling bad, because I was just a young teenager. Like, most of my life is gone now, because like, I ain't had a chance to drive a car, I didn't have a job yet or anything. Like, what's next? What's next in my face? Again, my story, May 27, possibly by myself. Who knows? But again, people who lose their vision, it's just very interesting. I have met plenty of individuals from different age ranges, from like their teens, their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, even older than 70. So, everyone has an interesting story, and it's not about being blind and vision impaired. It's about the things you can do with your blindness and visual impairment. So, you were in Alabama, you were losing your vision, you were presumed to be low vision. I was the same thing, losing my vision. So by the time, things happened, I became completely blind. But let's move on to the peach state of Georgia, home of the Georgia. So let's see. You always been here in Georgia, so I presume that you weren't completely blind quite yet, but when you were starting to become, progressively still losing your vision here in Georgia, how was your experiencing? How were you feeling now, as it was getting a little more worse?
It was becoming like real. And I say real because when I came from Alabama to Georgia, I was still setting up interviews to work. And because I've always worked. I mean, I've been working since I was 16 years old. And so I was setting up interviews like I was, going to go back to work. And I remember going on this interview, and I was really struggling to log in because I couldn't see it. At this time, I had started using magnifying glasses, and then like the magnifying screens to kind of like read the screen and things like that. So it was becoming a bit difficult. So it was it was an adjustment, because also by me moving back, not only was I trying to adjust with my current situation, I had my mom living with me as well. So I'm taking care of an elderly person, trying to navigate on this side of low vision. So, needless to say, I didn't have a lot of time to, I guess, get depressed or focus on what I was doing or what was going on in my life because I had so much going on to distract me. So it was a big adjustment. It didn't become, I don't think I embraced what was going on until I went to the doctor. When I came back here, I think it was like a couple months when I got back and went to the doctor because I noticed that the vision was getting even lower. I was starting to see like blotches that really honestly looked like people. So, but later found out it was blood vessels that was, bursting in my eye. That's the blotches that I saw. So, long story short, that's when the doctor told me, she said, your retinals are detached. Both are detached. And I had a breakdown moment. Not in the office, but when I got home, I had a breakdown moment. And I think it kind of started my mom because she's never, to know me is to know I don't do a lot of breakdown moments. I'm usually the one that kind of keep it together. So I did have a breakdown moment, but it didn't last long. I guess that's just how I'm built. And I just, been picking up the pieces ever since and just, going forward.
Yes. So it was uncertain for me. I was in a hospital getting labs done, figuring out what was going on with me. So, I didn't have my breakout moment until like, I think after getting my eyes diagnosed from like the regular optometrist or doctor you see, like a lens crafter, right? Telling me, something's wrong with Brandon. So, I think once I got out of the office and things and such, right? It didn't hit me yet. But I think when I went back to the apartment with my grandma, right? And I'm like, man, it's reality. I'm starting losing my vision. I'm scared. I'm a teenage boy. I'm like, oh, what's going to happen? So I didn't know. So more on that again next month. So now that you know going through all of this and this and that, you were starting looking out for services here in Georgia that may be able to help you and things and such. And you came across a VR service here in Georgia that guided you away to meeting me. Haha.
Right.
So here comes the part where me and Eunice starts to meet. I believe we've met 22, 23.
Yeah. It was 22 initially. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I was still, fresh off the boat, still learning, teach people here in Georgia. So I wanted to say shout out to Rose Thirst for the Blind, guiding me to this pathway, learning how to do things, being a technology trainer, teaching those who are blind, visually impaired, or progressively losing their vision, how to adapt to their new stuff and things and such. So I know some of you guys who'll be watching this, you guys are talking about what's this and that. I don't know what a screen reader is, but too bad. You'll probably learn later on. So,
Brandon will teach you.
yep, I would teach you. Eunice was speaking really highly about me, but I was saying I am not that great of a guy at all. But, so around 2022, she went through these services and, somehow I was given her information to, schedule technology evaluations for like her mobile technology skills and her computer skills. So we started there. We were not haha friends, buddy or anything. It was more like two strangers just working. So, I contacted her. She was still moving into her home. There was like construction going on in the background and things and such. It was just weird. So, we got to know each other, and then, from the evaluation, I don't think I heard from you until like 1 year later.
Yeah. Because you initially started off with, like you said, because I never had an iPhone. It was recommended for me to get an iPhone by of Shelby. I call her my mobility coach, who also works for VR. And so she said, iPhones are very good for those that are visually impaired. And I just never was a fan of iPhones. But I'm glad I took her advice and did it. And then, but when I got it, I mean, of course, I didn't know all the awesome things that you can do with the iPhone. So that's when Brandon stepped into the scene, and he was trying to teach me. But we didn't have too many sessions then. I think that was like an evaluation or something like that. And then it's like a year later, that's when we kind of linked up together, and he was teaching me how to do JAWS and the computer.
Yep, and everything. So, again, I was still new. So, like, I even know, I do the evaluation. I was supposed to request your hours, right? So that's probably why you were waiting for me.
Yeah.
I didn't know. So, like, wherever Eunice goes to, not my problem.
Right.
But who knows, after a year-long journey and things and such. So, but I'll give you guys the basic synopsis. So everything we're talking about, the technology that both I and Eunice use right now, is known as screen readers that talk to us. So basically, if you wanted to explore this yourself, you may have run into this even though you're not blind. You may be bored. You go on your phone, you click on accessibility. You say, ooh, voiceover, what is this? You click on it like, oh, snap, I just, effed up. It's talking to me. I'm finna throw this phone to the wall. It's annoying.
Right. Absolutely.
So, it's just weird. So I would just like Eunice. I hate Apple. I don't care what, if Apple comes after me at this podcast, if you find me on Spotify, Amazon, come at me, bro. So I always hated Apple. I wasn't an Apple fanboy. I was just Android, straight Android.
Yes.
So it was just weird, but learning voiceover on the iPhone was really easy on my own. So like, ooh, this is interesting. So it's pretty cool. So after the evaluation with for a phone, I didn't even evaluate for a computer. So I think randomly in 2023, I saw her name pop up out of the list of potential clients I will be training. Like, this name sounds familiar. So I get her a call and things and such, and then we started scheduling for training. And then from 2023 till, you wouldn't believe it, till now, 2025, we've been working together, things and such, getting to know each other a little better here and there. We have some missing that moments and things and such, which we'll probably find out some funny things in a moment. But, at first we were still like just, like two strange blind individuals. So most of my training's remote because of my medical impairments and things and such. But again, it's probably easier for a lot of blind individuals to do things remote, because, transportation could be difficult depending on, what state you're in. But here in Georgia, transportation could be whack sometimes.
Yeah, depending on where you live in Georgia, it can be very difficult for someone that, that's visually impaired. It can be very difficult. I mean, where I live at, I have, Henry Transit, and then with my insurance, they pay for my transportation. But like in Georgia, we have like MARTA. Well, MARTA doesn't come in all the counties, so that doesn't.
So MARTA, if you listen to this, you guys need to expand some way of transportation out south. So, go towards like the Henry County, Spalding County here in Georgia. Yeah. So even up north, some people even still up north for Georgia. North Georgia is like the place to be, but sometimes you still have some weird, whack transportation, even being blind with MARTA. It's just odd.
Mm-hmm. And then, for me, for other people, like, well, do Uber or Lyft. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, because I have, one of the other training, of course, that I get from you all is the transportation, which is with Shelby. And she, she taught me how to, travel by myself. And I'm still in that training as well. So I've, since then have, used the transportation to go to doctor's appointments by myself. And I haven't done a grocery store. Haven't done it by myself. Not quite ready for that yet. I haven't done any traveling, by myself. I mean, there are some pioneers out there that have done that and is knocking it out the box, and they're my heroes. But the only thing I've done so far by myself is go to like the doctor's office by myself. But anything outside of that, no. But I mean, it is some phenomenal blind individuals out here that is just knocking it out the box. That has no limits. They're doing it, and so that interests me. Mm-hmm.
I know I cut you off so many times, but it's just it's hard because I can't see your lips. So I know it's weird. I know there's a lot of blind travelers out there who go for places and places. And, for those, I think I'm gonna do it one year. I'm actually gonna go to like one of those blind conventions for like CSUN and things. I know CSUN was just recently, and I know that there are some other conventions that I want to go to in the future. But as for me, it's difficult. But again, May 27th, possibly. But so back to the main storyline. So 2023 comes. I'm training her. I don't remember where I started off. She was still struggling. I'm gonna really say it. She was struggling. Listen, guys, learning the computer blind, even becoming blind, it's a little difficult. But with the right guidance, you'll get there. Takes time and patience.
Yes. Yes. Because I think when you came, I had just finished up some training with Computers for the Blind.
Yes.
'Cause that's how I got my initial computer through them. And they give you like a real basic training to teach you how to use JAWS, the screen reader that you were speaking about. Which is really basic, but I will say that it's good because you give more of, not of intense, because you're real patient. You've been very patient with me, I know. But it kind of gets you prepared for what you're going to provide, I think. But, you did a phenomenal job. I mean, everything that you was teaching me is pretty much like next level what I was receiving from Computers for the Blind. But I do appreciate Computers for the Blind for providing me with the laptop and also the basic training that they did provide for me. So, yeah.
Yeah, they did pretty good. So, again, for those blind individuals who just need like a low income, computer, you can contact Computers for the Blind, not a sponsor. But, they're pretty good. I actually worked from some people at Roasters for the Blind, who most of those clients did come from Computers for the Blind. It was interesting. It gave me, a way to learn how to train people and things. I wasn't as skilled as I was before. And don't even believe Eunice, I'm not phenomenal at all. I'm just a basic trainer. And when you come to me, I'm going to give you the most basic training you ever need. Isn't that right, Eunice?
No, that's not right.
And don't believe her.
He may also laugh a little bit too when he knows that you're trying, and because especially with me, I had a problem with listening. So he'll be like, no. You're just like, what? No, you're not listening. So at that time, I felt like he was my dad, and I'm getting in trouble and stuff. So he was like, no, you need to listen. So that's his, I'm serious, you need to get it together voice. So, but he's sweet though.
I don't know what you're talking about, Eunice. I don't know. You're just throwing lies about me. I might even sue you after the podcast.
Oh, Lord. You can get my cane.
No, I'll take your air fryer and your computer. I'll take whatever you have in your home. I'll be your, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. When you, yeah.
The repo man.
No, I'll take your phone too.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. It's just weird. So, she was doing some basic training at first. I think I was teaching just navigating the computer. But during some times recently, she's getting better. She's actually almost done with her training course. But within the last couple of months, a lot of things been really funky and things and such. I can't even, I still don't even know how it was possible. I think this was not even that many weeks ago. I think this was at least, 4 or 5 weeks ago, I would say. She wanted to learn how to print. And now this story is very obscured. So again, like I said, in this Sightless Dungeon, you don't know what you're gonna get. So I tried to teach her how to open her Word document, set up the printer, things and such. Mentioned I asked her, "Is your printer on?" She said, "I don't know." And like, all right. I said, "Well, I'll give you like a couple of seconds to go see if your printer's turned on." So Eunice, do you want to explain to the people what happened that day?
See, this is those moments when he likes to laugh at you people. So what I did was, my printer's in another room. So I go into where the printer is, and I know how to turn it on. So I press the button. But when I pressed the button, I noticed it was dusty. So I don't like dust. So I'm like, oh my God, all this dust. So I'm dusting, rearranging stuff. So in the midst of me dusting and rearranging, I guess I unplugged the Wi-Fi as well as everything else. So, because when I came back, Brandon was no longer on the computer. It was total silence. And when I went to my computer, it was just nothing. So I called Brandon on the phone, and he was like, well, the phone just went dead. I said, well, I don't know what's wrong. My computer's not working. It was like, didn't realize that I had unplugged my Wi-Fi until my husband came home, and he was like, it's not plugged up, So Brandon is just having a great old time laughing at me because I don't unplugged everything. I thought I plugged everything back up, but nevertheless, I unplugged everything. We didn't finish our session, so I was like, oh well, it happens. Welcome to my room.
Yep. So again, there's a lot of blind movies out there. I know there's gonna be a lot. If there were like an American Most Funniest videos made for blind bloopers, just imagine how many bloopers there would be. There might be a blind person walking into the ladies' room by accident, and the lady just
Well, walking into the wall, I have gotten since I've been like it. I think I've experienced maybe 3 eggs on my head walking into the wall. So yeah, almost having concussions and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure I should have a CT scan done. I'm sure I had a concussion. It was a pretty nice little egg on my head. So yeah, definitely the bloopers. Definitely.
There's a lot of bloopers. I'm telling you, once you guys see all the people that I might be interviewing, just listen to their bloopers. So basically, this could be a blooper wheel, but don't worry about like bumping into the walls and things. It's kind of common. Even though you might be skilled at navigating, sometimes even the professionals still bump their heads. I remember like learning to walk around school. I'll be running to the walls, into like metal poles and things and such. But it's but it's not that bad.
It is not bad, Brandon.
It's not that bad. I'm telling you, bro. I will walk into a wall like, it's alright. The wall like, hey, bro, why you want to fight?
Right. The wall gonna win.
Yes. So it just don't worry. There's a lot of funny bumps in here. I remember like I was at Walmart looking for some things. I was there with my sighted guide. The lady was talking to me, but I was actually talking away from her. Like I was looking away from her, and then the sighted guy, he was like, "Brennan, who are you talking to?" Oh, I guess no one. Yes.
I do that. You do that a lot too. You think you're looking at the person in their face, and then you look to the side. But it's a funny story with that. My daughter-in-law, she said that one day, she just actually told me this story. She told my son first, but she said that she was talking to me, and I turned around and I looked her dead in her eyes, and she said that it freaked her out. I said, why? She said, because normally you don't be looking at me. She said, I got scared. Because you was looking dead in my eyes and talking to me. I was like, oh, okay. But so it kind of freaks people out, I guess, because I'm sure you do the same thing. I follow that person's voice to the best of my ability to try to talk to them face to face. But I guess we don't get it every time.
Yeah, we don't get it every time. Even though for people who still have like shadow perception or light perception, you might be able to see them, but sometimes it may be off.
Yeah.
But it's it's common things. Blind people do this often. Again, there's a lot of different way people interact with the blind. Again, it might be hilarious, it might be serious, and things and such. But again, we are just people. We're not just blind people. We're just people. People do the same thing. Just like it just it's just like blind people are drunk people. We bumping, walking around crazy. Just thinking like we're drunk. We just had too much at a pub.
Yeah. Okay. Brandon, that's you drunk.
Don't worry about it. I don't drink, guys. I'd be drinking that hard liquor.
That's a good analogy, though. You do be feeling drunk, especially when you're walking, especially when I'm learning the mobility and I'm thinking I'm crossing the street straight, and then my coach have to push me over. She'll be like, "You're walking sideways." I'm like, "Really?" You just don't know. You just think you're walking straight, and I guess that's what a drunk person be thinking they're drinking. They're walking straight, but they walking sideways.
Yeah, I remember I was doing mobility with one of my mobility coaches. I had to jaywalk in front of a police.
Oh, Lord.
Like, oh, Brandon, the police in front of you. Oh, is it right? And I jaywalked my whole life, so it's no problem.
That's good.
Yes. So, again, with all of our stories and such, it's very interesting. Eunice is not just, a random lady. She's actually an artist and an author of some things. So basically, she's actually a musician and an author of a book. So let's get into this now. It's very interesting because between our common communications through our training, I would tell I'm a beatboxer and things and such. I'll play like random beats I make. And I'll tell her like one day she just sent me one of her tracks like, oh, this is nice. So for the people, I know you don't make music for like a profession or things, but you just do it when you can, right? So, tell the people what kind of music you are into, and basically, what do you like to sing?
Well, I like all type of music except, no offense, heavy metal. But I like all type of music, but I sing gospel music. I have written so far, let me say this. I have recorded so far, but it hasn't went live yet. But I have recorded so far 6 songs that I have written and my son-in-law have produced for me. My goals and plans are actually this year to have some of my singles to come out this year. So when it comes out, I'll come back and present it on the podcast if you don't mind. So that's something that I actually started on, I guess like 2023, 2024. And I've always sung. I always love to sing. It's just always been a passion of mine. But this was like my first time actually recording. I mean, I've, sung in choirs and plays and, things like that. But this is my first time actually recording and being actually in a recording studio and recording music. So I'm super excited about that. And this year, end of 2020, December 2024, I released my first book.
Yay!
and it is titled Believers Don't Vent, They Pray. And it's a prayer journal. I am a believer of Jesus Christ. And so with that, with most religions, you have, you're supposed to pray to whoever, whoever God or religion that you serve. But mine is based on having a relationship with God and Jesus Christ. So with prayers, sometimes prayer can be to some people intimidating. They think they have to have the right words to say, the right scriptures. If you're Christians, the right scriptures from the Bible to have lined up, which scripture is very important. But prayer is just having a conversation with God, just like me and you are talking right now on this podcast. That's the same thing that you would do, with God, starting off until, you get a little bit more mature, a little bit more comfortable. And then, of course, your prayer language would change. But my book is basically that. It's a prayer journal. It's literally from A to Z, and I have words with scripture, and with that scripture, I have affirmations that you can say, and then of course there's lines that you can write on, writing out your prayer. Some people are better with writing out prayers versus verbalizing it. So it's basically like just a tool to use to help motivate people to get back to prayer, and to develop that relationship with God. So again, it dropped December of 2024, and it is on Amazon, Amazon.com. And if you type in "Believers Don't Vent, They Pray" by Eunice McDowell, you will see, those that can see, you will see the book, and I welcome you to purchase it. And I hope that it'll be a blessing to those that are sighted. Unfortunately, I couldn't do one for those that are visually impaired because it's a written thing. And so at the time, I guess they didn't have the technology, or I didn't have the information to be able to, do something like Audible or some type of ebook to help assist those that are visually impaired. But I am working on 2 other books. In one of my books, I am going to have it Audible. It's going to be like a pretty much like a bio of my life. And that will be Audible for all audience to be able to enjoy. But again, it's on Amazon.com. Please support, write a review, and I pray that it blesses those that support the book.
This advertisement was not sponsored by the Sightless Dungeon. If you do pursue to proceed this book, please do not remember this is not a sponsorship made by the Sightless Dungeon. Thank you, Eunice, for sharing your book.
You're welcome.
Don't worry. So, basically, the podcast is wrapping up now. So, we got to know Eunice, her story, her vision loss, and what she is. She was a fun individual to be here in the Sightless Dungeon. We explored her stories. We had stories and treasures that are non-valuable to us. So, basically, I will thank you for being my first individual in the Sightless Dungeon who explored the wacky, crazy side of your truly, Fred and that blind guy. So again, everyone, if you enjoyed this podcast, just know we'll be here whenever I can upload. But I'll try my best. So again, with that, remember, the adventures in the Sightless Dungeons are not endless, but the treasures and stories that we get are very valuable. Again, I'm Brand, the blind guy, and this has been the Sightless Dungeon.